Hey everyone, in this video I'll be showing you how to clean the data that we've obtained from Open Data Baton Rouge that we connected to Microsoft Power BI Desktop with the OData link. Now, to actually do the cleaning or transforming, we go here to transform data. But just before we do that, you may see here on the right the table is called Query 1, and then here are all the different columns. We'll actually be modifying the names to make them look a little bit better, even though it's not really necessary. It'll just help. Anyway, so go here to transform data and click transform data again. It had a different name at one point when it was an older version. I believe it was Query Editor or something like that. Now here you may see a yellow bar that says refresh. That will just allow you to refresh the data, but we're not going to do that at this moment because it's a very huge file. We'll do that closer towards the end of the cleaning. First off, we're going to go here to the right under properties and click in that text box under name and give the table a new name and set query 1. I'm going to call it crime. Now you'll notice here when I actually click out of the text box, this will change its name right where my mouse is. Now it's called crime. Okay, now that the table has been renamed, we're going to have to start going to the columns, and when I say modifying the data, it is just reformatting it into something that's actually useful, because as of right now, very little is useful. Now, one of the columns we will not touch, except for maybe just renaming the actual header or title of the column, would be the ID column. You do not want to touch the IDs normally. We probably won't even use the IDs, but you still do not want to touch them if you are going to join another table to it, because then a lot of weird issues can happen. Because for this one, this is the primary key, but in another table they may have the crime ID column in it as well, but that would be a secondary key, which I'm not going to go into too much detail, but basically you don't want to touch the keys. We're probably not going to mess with offense time very much right now, but offense date we do want to modify, because it has the date right here, but it also has 12 a.m. plus some zeros, which who knows why they're there. But as you can tell, everything is 12 a.m. That's because that's way something's inputted into the database or something like that, so the 12 a.m. is not correct. So what we're going to want to do is basically take away the 12 a.m. from everything in this column and just leave the date. Okay, to change the type, we're going to want to right-click on the, make sure you actually highlight the correct tab, because if I right-clicked here, it won't work right. So just make sure it's highlighted before you do it. So right-click, go to transform, no wait, it's change type, sorry. And as you can see, it's currently set to date, time, and time zone. What we're going to want to do is go to date, select it, and as you can see here, the time part is gone. And you may notice here that it says that the type was changed. Now this is more of optional, but what you could do is, as you go, is you could say changed whatever column type, whatever the column's name is type. Or you could not do that. It's your choice, but I will be doing some cuts here and there to skip a few. When I say skip a few steps, it'll be like renaming things or just kind of renaming this here. So if you see a very long list, that is just because I was trying to make it simple. Because here, let me just show you. Say I rename this to geo address 1, just as an example. You notice here that says rename columns. Now if I do it the same to this one and just call that 1, that both of these are considered to be in the same step. Now when it comes to naming, it's not as bad, but if you're trying to figure out why something went wrong on a particular step and you did a bunch of things in one step, then it can get a little difficult to fix it. And if there was a bunch of other steps here and you found out that the problem was right here, you would have to basically start over quite a ways by Xing everything here. So watch what happens if I hit the red X for renamed columns. You notice how the 1 and the 2 1s have disappeared. That's because they were included in the same step. So if you see a bunch of little renamed, change type, rename, change type, that might be because I was doing that so I have each step or each name in a particular step. And same with change type, because I'm not going to show you every single change type unless it's relevant. For example, right here, I will replace the nulls or blanks with unknown, but I'm not going to show it for every single column because that'll take too long. But just as a heads up. Okay, sorry about that little rambling, it's just as a heads up. Now, before we start filling in the blanks with unknown, let's first go to append state and duplicate the column 3 times. So I'm gonna, actually, now I'm gonna leave where it is for the moment. We're gonna move it after we duplicate the append state 3 times. This is so, actually no, it needs to be, yeah, 3 times. Sorry, my mind was thinking of the original as one of those times for the moment. So, let's see. Okay, now we're gonna drag one over, and then we'll rename it. We can either rename it to month, day, day of week, year. It's just whatever. So we might actually duplicate one more time to just provide more options for when we're actually doing the dashboard. And sorry that this isn't super structured. I'm kind of thinking as I go. So I'm going to put it here. And I'm actually going to rename this to month. And then we'll reformat it after we get the others. And as you can see here, it says I renamed a column, so I could say that I renamed append state copy to month, and then append state copy .1 to whatever I give that to. But I'm actually not going to do that for this, because it'll take way too long, even if I did cut. And sorry about the slow crawl, so I'm going to start cutting when I have to do a lot of these draggings. Okay, I will duplicate append state again, and then I'll duplicate it again, but I'll cut to when I have moved the other two, including one I have yet to make.